No,
Find
no.
it out.
I still want to have the skin on this.
No, we need to kill 2 minutes, so.
Yeah, you've got 1 minute.
Kill one of them right now.
Perfect.
It's on. It's live.
All right, hey guys, we have to take off, so we'll do the raffle for Rupert real quickly here. Must be present to win.
David Davis.
Tina from Big CMC.
Craig, over here. Otherwise I'll hear you.
Ryan Kingstead from Horton.
He was here. Not here anymore. He's
If he can't stay. Yeah, he has to leave, so.
Oh.
Yeah.
Jeremy Griffin.
Hey!
Congrats, bud. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Rupert, for sponsoring. Very good? I was just looking to see if you had a thumbs up for us or not. It's definitely been 2 minutes, I think.
We turned it off. Yeah.
It's still off, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Till we're ready. We'll just stand up here.
Oh, James is taking pictures. Smile.
Like this, like,
Wave.
wait.
I think I had a water here.
There's a little water up here. I don't know whose it is. This is
Yeah.
yours? I think there's one
That's
up here.
mine, yeah.
Are we not quite ready? Almost not ready? Not almost ready. Is that, oh, jeez. Don't lean on that.
Yeah. Oh, that's the clock right there. Okay, it's just an hour ahead. I'll just have to remember that.
We're good? All right.
Good?
Hello, and thank you for coming today to our Emerging Technology Summit annual event. I want to thank everybody for attending today. And I want to kick the keynote off. So we've got David Davis here, one of the co-founders for AstroTech Media. And I'm going to turn it right over to David.
Thanks, Roger. Thanks, Roger. Wow, thanks loud. So thanks everyone for sticking with us while we got the audio and video set up. I know I stand between you and happy hour, so I'll try to be brief and respect your time. So the title of today's presentation is What the Cloud Means for Enterprise IT. And you know, I envisioned when Roger said that I was going to be giving the keynote, it was going to be on the Jumbotron, but I'm hoping next year that that'll be possible. But this is awesome, so anyway, thank you. So we're talking about the cloud and enterprise IT. Before I jump into it, just quickly, you know, who I am. I was a server network IT manager for many years. I also created a lot of video training courses, especially around virtualization and cloud computing. I've got over 50 video training courses at pluralsight.com. And also a 9-time VMware vExpert, CCIE, and more recently I've been working especially as a partner and co-founder at Actual Tech Media, which is a tech media company that I founded with 3 other partners. We create enterprise technology content, and primarily we put events on over the internet, virtual events. We call them megacasts, and we bring a bunch of vendors together with about 1,000 IT professionals, give away a ton of prizes, and we talk about enterprise technology for a few hours. So that's kind of what I do full time when I'm not creating video content of some kind. But you know, primarily what I do is I learn about enterprise technology, and that's why honestly I love what I do. I love the learning aspect, and the great thing about technology is there's always more to learn. And that's what we're talking about today, learning, educating around cloud computing. Most of you, I'm sure, already know the fundamentals of cloud computing, but I just wanted to point this out. I created a fundamentals of cloud computing course that walks you through the different types of cloud computing, infrastructure as a service, software as a service, platform as a service. I go into AWS and demo how to use these different types of services. If you or your staff or anyone you know wants to learn that, it's a great resource. But primarily what I'm here to talk about today is this, a survey that we did at Actual Tech Media recently around cloud computing, what I'm excited about in technology, which also has to do with cloud. An interview I did last week called The Big Lie, which has got a real suspicious name. I'll talk about that, the reshaping of IT, and then what cloud means for enterprise technology companies out there. So we at Actual Tech Media, every year we do a survey of our audience. We have about 500,000 IT professionals in our database that we communicate with on a regular basis. And we polled 1,000 of those IT professionals recently, and I found the results of that survey very interesting. So, in general, it was a good breakdown between what the people did on a daily basis, whether they were technical, whether they were an IT director, manager, or so forth. It was a real good breakdown between the two different types of roles. And surprisingly, of these 1,000 people, 35% performed one role. They had one job, essentially. But it went all the way up to 10% who said they had 10 roles in IT. So they have like 10 different jobs. It's kind of hard to picture, a little bit hard to believe, but that's what they said their day-to-day was like. They had 10 different jobs. And I can only imagine the stress and complexity, that they go through having all these different things to worry about on a daily basis. The breakdown of the companies was real good as well, very well distributed, and all the way from small companies who were 14% fewer than 100 employees, all the way up to companies with more than 20,000 employees, which were 15% of the people that were polled. And here's what we found. So we asked them to describe their knowledge levels around the following technologies. And what came in interesting to me here was around cloud, and that's what we're talking about today specifically. So they said that 70% of them had some knowledge of cloud technologies, whether it's hybrid cloud, enterprise cloud, multi-cloud, private cloud, or public cloud, whatever you want to call it. They had knowledge of this type of technology. And they wanted to learn, though, even more. So what would you like to learn over the next 12 months? They want to learn cloud primarily. I was interested that virtualization came in even higher. I would think that people would already know virtualization, right? But to me, that's kind of like the 201 stuff. Or, maybe that's where they spend a lot of their days, managing the virtual infrastructure. So yeah, of course, they want to learn more about the virtual infrastructure because maybe they spend their day monitoring performance or capacity or troubleshooting or so forth. But right below that, and even mixed in there with security, which you would think would be a very high level of interest today, was cloud. So people want to learn more about cloud, and I think that's smart. But over the next 12 months, when it comes to where they'll be spending their money and their time, unfortunately, it was well below, kind of traditional IT services. Of course, they got to keep the lights on. Security, storage, the virtual infrastructure, disaster recovery, and data protection. These came in much higher to them than, cloud technologies, which maybe is just the real world. You got to focus on what's running in the data center today, the day-to-day problems, before going on to looking at innovative things like hybrid cloud or enterprise cloud. So what the survey said to me is that cloud is very high on the list, and it's even higher than on-premises IT. The core silos of the data center, they'll be spending a lot of time improving over 2018, efficiency, performance, capacity, and availability. So they got to keep the lights on, they got to keep things running, but they would like to spend more time on cloud computing. We also did some more survey here around cloud, and we asked them about their cloud adoption plans. And so the executives of the company, 57%, said they're interested in cloud adoption. The staff, not so much. They're not so interested in cloud adoption. Maybe they're afraid to lose their jobs, I don't know. Or maybe they're just too busy, trying to keep the lights on to worry about this public cloud thing. And of course, the larger companies, 43%, the larger companies said they're interested in cloud adoption. And when we asked what areas of the cloud, what are you most focused on? What's driving you to implement enterprise or hybrid cloud? And primarily, it was to improve data center economics. So they want to save money somehow. They want to have a pay-as-you-go model. They want to get rid of capital expenditures, move to an OpEx model. 34% said they're facing pressure from executives to consider cloud. Maybe the executive read an article in the In-Flight magazine or the Wall Street Journal about how everybody should move to cloud. That's great marketing, but it's not a real specific good reason to move to cloud. And then from there were some good reasons around security and IT governance and scalability. So those are, of course, good reasons to consider cloud. But the number one reason, of course, was to save money. And from what I've learned about the public cloud, it's not always the best solution when it comes to trying to save money. So my takeaway from that is that public cloud is being adopted more by large companies, and it's being pushed more by executives. And it's being pushed to move to an OpEx spending model to improve scalability and security. But today, cloud's really only being adopted by some companies and for very specific use cases. And really the big takeaway from the survey was, to me, that on-premises IT is not going away anytime soon. We're not going to just throw out the data center and move to the cloud. I mean, I have heard some stories of a new CIO comes in, tells everyone on the staff, hey, we're moving to AWS, getting rid of the data center. You're either on board or you're fired, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I don't know that that's the smartest move. It's not the smartest move in my opinion, because every company is different, every application's different, and there's no one size fits all. There's no just the cloud kind of magic bullet. And the other thing from the survey is that they need to learn cloud for the future. So moving on from the survey to what I'm excited about, and by the way, I'd love to hear what you all are excited about, especially after spending a day learning about enterprise technology. After the presentation, love to chat about that. But as far as what I'm excited about, for the press, we see stuff in the press like, amazing new chip architectures, mind-blowing memory, crazy high performance, AI, ML, AR, quantum computing that was on display at Microsoft Ignite's conference. I'm still not quite sure what that is. Yeah, in the cloud, right? And that's all cool to talk about in the press, but in reality, most companies just want data protection, efficiency, security, availability, cost control, and by the way, I did that on purpose. Happier end users, a simpler life, and time to just learn a new technology and really help the business. That's what companies really want. And sometimes cloud is the solution to that, but not always. What I'm really excited about in technology today is what I call the hyperconvergence of IT. And last week I was actually in Silicon Valley with Actual Tech Media. We did this roadcast event where we visited 25 companies across Silicon Valley in about 4 days, created 75 videos. One of the videos I did was with Vaughn Stewart, who's the chief evangelist at Pure Storage. And he wanted to talk about this. And so we made a video called The Hyperconvergence of IT. It's on YouTube now. And the basic premise of the video is that we're breaking down, the silos, if you will, of IT, and we're making things more efficient. Life in IT just has to become more efficient, and we need to move faster and be able to do our jobs and provide the services the company needs, so much better. I'm also excited about technology that just makes life in IT just stupid simple, if you will. So whether it's storage or data protection or disaster recovery or troubleshooting, I've talked to some of the different technology solution providers here today, and many of them that's their theme. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to solve problems in IT to just make life simpler. And being a former IT professional myself, I love to see that. I'm also excited about public cloud solutions, whether it's SaaS or PaaS or functions as a service, infrastructure as a service, but only where it makes sense. And then just learning the cloud management model and applying that to on-premises IT. That's what I think really excites me. So what can we learn from the cloud without moving to the cloud and bring that back to our on-premises infrastructure and to try to provide kind of IT as a service, be more service-oriented. So on this roadcast that we did last week, we published all these videos. I did talk to some really amazing startup companies that are making like the next generation chip architecture so they're going to compete with Intel, and they're going to make these tiny CPUs that essentially you could fit hundreds of servers in just a small 1U box, and they're super low power, and they do amazing things, and they're going to replace Google's data center with all these servers. That's their business plan. So there's some companies out there like that, but many of the companies I talk to are more, I think, like the companies that are here today, where, like I said, they're trying to solve the pain points that we're facing in IT today. One of the interviews that I did was totally unplanned and unscripted, and it was with this guy named Rob Rogers. And Rob is the chief architect at a company called Skyport Systems. And the interesting thing about the video was it was just a whiteboard discussion, and Rob said, I want to talk to you about something called the big lie. And I'm like, okay, what's that? And he's like, I'll tell you in the video. So he went through in the video, and Rob's basic point in the video is that the big lie of public cloud is that 100% of IT will go to AWS, or pick whatever your CSP is, Azure, Google, whoever it is. But kind of this big marketing assumption that enterprises have been led to believe is that everything's going to the cloud. And I'm not saying that a lot of things aren't going to the cloud, but it's been presented as sort of this, 100% all or nothing kind of thing. Everything's going to go to the public cloud. And that's not true. That was one of Rob's points. The other one is that the big lie of on-premises IT is that the remaining workloads will still be managed and run kind of the same way. So for the stuff that doesn't go to the cloud, things might get a little bit more efficient, but they're not going to change that much. And my take on this is that cloud service providers have really mastered the cheap and deep, if you will. They have these infinitely scalable, compute and storage data centers. It's kind of like the Sam's Club of data centers. So, if you need a 52-pack of toilet paper, great, go to Sam's Club. But if you need a really good roll of toilet paper, that's not the place to go. So there's a use case for the cloud service providers, but that's not right for every application. It's not right for every company. But cloud service providers have taught us to consume, these full-page ads in the Wall Street Journal for the CEO. For just 2 cents, you can move everything to the cloud. And it's really good marketing, but it's not true in every case. So some more takeaways from this is that we've been assuming, or at least some people have, for the last few years, that 100% of workloads will go to the cloud. It's just a matter of time. But I think what we've discovered is the cloud's expensive, it's complicated, the workloads have to be refactored, as they call it, really just rewritten or redesigned. And IT pros, such as us, we need retraining on the cloud. It's not easy, it's not the same as what we have now. So let's say that eventually 80% of all workloads go to the cloud. I mean, how long is that going to take? We don't know. And what about the other 20% of the workloads that are out there that are going to stay on premises because they have intellectual property, or maybe we're just willing to keep them on premises so we can look in the data center and say, that's our data, I know it's safe, kind of thing. Those workloads need to be run much more efficiently. They need to be managed more efficiently in a much more cloud-like manner. So how can we learn from what the cloud does really well and apply that, to on-premises IT? So my recommendations are, to become more application-focused as IT professionals, to reshape our IT organizations and streamline and eliminate complexity, as much as we can, to learn and adopt the cloud management model, and then leverage the cloud services as they make sense for us. So when it comes to reshaping IT, this is my breaking down the silos picture that I got from Google. You have to look at it real close, but it's there. So those the silos are falling down: compute, storage, networking, of the IT infrastructure management group, and kind of everyone working together. But in order for that to be possible, in my opinion, the technology has to get so much smarter and so much simpler to manage and use and troubleshoot and prevent problems, before they happen. And this was the flattening of IT. I kind of like that, the flat Earth. So that's the flattening of IT. Again, getting rid of the silos. Same concept. The other thing we have to do to reshape our IT organizations is to elevate ourselves to a higher level. So no more storage administrator, network administrator, whatever it might be. I actually wrote a blog back in November 2011, 6 years ago now, called Become an Infrastructure Engineer Before It's Too Late, and it's still out there. And the premise of the blog was, hey, you don't want to be like the guy from Office Space. Is it Milton? Something like that. Melvin? One of those. he never elevated himself, right? He went lower and lower in the office. And so what can we do as IT professionals to elevate ourselves beyond what we do to become real problem solvers and become real technology enablers at our company? And to me, it's really, we have to change the mindset of IT. We need to say that we don't do IT, we use technology to maximize shareholder value or achieve the goals of the company, whatever it might be, and really use technology to enable our business to do better. And I think that requires a little bit different perspective than what we're used to in IT. We also need to think about what the cloud means for enterprise IT. How can we leverage the public cloud? So yesterday, I saw this blog post from someone that I know, and this was the banner graphic on it, and it said, "Ignore the cloud at your own peril." And his point was, hey, everybody needs to learn cloud technologies and cloud management. And I do think that's true. But I also think it kind of feeds into the big lie, if you will, that everything is going to the cloud and there's going to be no more on-premises IT. So we do need to learn more. And I'm going to talk about learning here in just a second. We also need to make sure we don't get caught believing, either one of the big lies, if you will, that everything is going to the cloud or that things on premises, things in our data centers are just going to stay the same, because they're not. Cloud isn't an all or nothing, and every company is different. Every application is different out there, and we need to get to know those applications better. But no matter where you are, no matter what organization you're at, things are changing, and they're changing very fast. So what do we need to do? Well, like I said, streamline IT, learn the public cloud technologies, and leverage those in our own data center, and then leverage public cloud where it makes sense. But I think most importantly, to bring that cloud philosophy, what company executives are so attracted to from the cloud, bring that back into in-house IT, because to some degree, the cloud is our competition, but I also really see it as a huge opportunity for us to see it, to say, hey, this is what's really attractive to a lot of people. Now, what can we learn from that? What can we bring back to our own organization? How can we clone what's in the public cloud, the management, the model, the OpEx pricing, the mindset, the self-service, the ultimate scalability, high availability, all these things? How can we bring that back and apply it on premises? So, recommended next steps, and I am going to wrap up here sooner than I said, get you to happy hour. Recommended next steps, learn more about innovative emerging technologies, which is why you're here, and I applaud you for being here today to learn. Learn public cloud technologies, whether it's Amazon or Azure, no matter what it is, there's free tiers out there. There's really amazing training courses from a variety of different companies, whether it's Pluralsight, LinkedIn Learning, A Cloud Guru. There's a lot of different solutions out there for learning public cloud technologies. Of course, never sit still. We can't do that for very long in IT, or else technology passes us by. Find ways to elevate ourselves, higher, to not be stuck as the storage administrator, network administrator, whatever it might be. Become the infrastructure engineer or cloud architect, whatever the title is. Even if you don't have that official title, what can you do to kind of become that person? And then become a technology enabler at your company. There's a book out there called The Linchpin, and the Linchpin book is all about, how can you become a linchpin in your organization where you're the person that everyone goes to? How can you strive to become that person, in technology? So when it comes to learning cloud technologies, I said, I think you should do that. So here's what I'm learning. Over the last year, I've been working to learn more about containers, Docker on Linux, and Docker on Windows. I watched a really great Docker on Windows course by Wes Higby on Pluralsight. Docker just recently announced their DCA, their Docker Certified Associate, which I'm interested in achieving. Because they lay out everything you need to learn about Docker. It's not so much just to have the certification, but it's to learn these enterprise ways of using containers, because it's one thing to say, hey, I spun up a container on my MacBook. Well, that's great. But what about really using containers in production? What do you need to know? It's a very different set of skills. Docker has a series of courses that they offer for free, a series of YouTube videos called MTA, or what is it, migrating Oh, modernizing, I don't know, I can't remember. I'll tell you after, I'm sorry. Traditional applications. So it's moving traditional applications into containers. And so they teach you how to take traditional applications and move them into containers and then, finally into the cloud. Container orchestration, Kubernetes, which was recently announced support by Docker, so they'll be integrating the two, so the two can work together. I was talking to a number of container companies here today, some very innovative stuff that they're doing. Terraform and Vagrant from HashiCorp, as well as CoreOS, all play into the kind of container and container orchestration solutions. On-premises AWS solutions, there's a number of on-premises cloud solutions here today that I've talked to, and there's a couple others that weren't represented here today. All great, very cool on-premises AWS solutions that allow you to run your on-premises data center just like Amazon does. So the virtual machines are compatible. You can migrate them in a few clicks to Amazon or migrate them back. And in many cases, even the APIs that work with the on-premises infrastructure are AWS compatible. So you can use the same tools that you use on-premises as well as off-premises or in the public cloud. So I'm kind of intrigued by these kind of on-prem AWS compatible type solutions. Of course, AWS and Azure. I'm excited to attend Amazon reInvent just after Thanksgiving this year for the first time. And then trying to learn more coding, scripting. I installed Visual Studio, taking a course on that. And then all at the same time trying to stay current on vSphere, vSAN, and NSX, because VMware continues to innovate and those workloads aren't disappearing. That's a skill that I personally, and I know many of you still need to have. So if you have questions, want to reach out anytime, I'm David M. Davis on Twitter. I'm on LinkedIn. My blog is actualtech.io. There's my email address there, david@actualtechmedia.com. Always glad to chat. And I want to thank you, everyone, for attending the event today. Thank you, Deltaware Data, for this great event. Thank you, sponsors. And I hope everyone enjoys happy hour. So thank you very much.
Tickets was Raj from United.